Okay, so I just unscrewed the two screws beside the lightning port, and now I just remove them with these tweezers. As you can see here, this battery is pretty bloated. It's very bloated actually, so it's pushing forward, it's pushing upwards the screen, and as you can see the screen is already up, so it's very easy for me to run a pick all around the display, therefore detaching it from the main frame of the phone. If your display though is still in its place, you can use a suction cup to lift it up a little bit, and then you can run a pick like this, or you can use another tool similar to this. Now, as you can see, I lift up the display, being very careful not to tear or not to break the flat cables that keeps the display attached to the motherboard. Now, show you here the battery. It's inflated, it's bloated, and of course needs to be changed. Now, let's start by removing this metal shield that's placed on top of the battery connector. And now we remove with this sort of tool for prying up the connector. Always use some plastic tools or some wooden tools. Never use metal for these jobs. Now, battery is disconnected. We need to remove these two adhesive tabs that are placed just under the battery. Now, my favorite way of doing that is just to roll the tabs around a pencil or a pen, and then roll it over so that we can slide them from under the battery. We can slide them out just like that, and it broke. So these stripes actually don't seem to be very good. They're not. This battery is not the original battery, so the stripes also, the adhesive tabs also are not good quality. So I just now try to remove the battery by prying it up with this tool, but it's really stuck in there. So the tabs may not have been good quality, but the glue is pretty strong there. So I'm also trying to use this longer tool, but I don't want to put too much pressure on the motherboard there. So I'm just gonna try and pry it up from the other side so I don't run the risk of breaking the motherboard. But I feel that it's too stuck in there. So after a few attempts, I just decided to go for another technique that I will show you in a minute. But before that, it's best for me to just remove the display so I can handle the phone much better, and I do not run the risk of breaking any cables. So to remove the display, just remove this metal shield, this metal bracket that keeps the cables of the display in place, and by using one of these tools we just pop the cables up very gently we pop them up without tearing them. Okay, let's always be careful when we do this kind of job. Now I wear a glove because I want to use my trusty heat gun to try and soften the glue of the battery. And as you can see, there's some sort of scratches coming out by hitting the metal, but those scratches they will disappear as soon as the metal cools down. Now let's see if the glue has softened up a little bit. It has, definitely. Now it's much easier to remove the battery. Just applying some leverage. It will get unstuck pretty easy. All right. So let's always be careful when we do this this procedure. We don't want to break the battery, and we don't want to break the phone or the motherboard of the phone. Now let's remove this adhesive tape. And let's make the case nice and clean so that we can place the new battery instead of the old one. Right, now let's put the battery in place. Let's first align it to the connector. Once it's aligned, we can safely put it down and glue it to the frame. There you go. We press it on top of the frame and we reconnect the battery connector to the motherboard. Now we put the bracket or shield back on top of the battery connector. There's two screws there. We screw them and secure them to the motherboard. And now we plug the display back onto the motherboard. There's 3 flat cables that need to be put back in place gently without forcing them. They have to click gently. You will feel with your finger when they are in the right position to be pressed down. And then we put the metal bracket, actually metal shield, I suppose it's a more correct term, on top of the display connectors. We secure it with the 4 screws and we are almost done. Now we put the display back into place by gently pressing it down into the frame, and we put the 2 screws back to secure the display to the frame, and we're done. Now let's check if the phone turns on. Yes, it does turn on. And now also the battery, it should be already charged. Let's see the level of the charge of the battery. It's about 67% or something like that. So it is working fine. Project is finalized. Hope you liked this video. Thumbs up if you did. See you next time.